I had Pasta on the show, as you know,
Hmm.
the other day, and he told me this really cool story about you guys, about how you met, about how you were in
Oh
this
God.
restaurant and you were pouring soy sauce, refilling the soy, and then
He
the
lied.
song "Excess" came on, "Together Forever" and that kind of thing, and I thought that was so sweet and heartwarming. Yeah.
Yeah, none of that happened, but it's hilarious that he tells
I
that
know. He
story.
told me, he said, I said, "Hey, what's something fun I could tease you with?" And he's like, he gave me that story. So he said it annoys you.
It does because it literally didn't happen. What happened was that I was a Bernie supporter back then, and I had a friend, and she was like, "Oh," she knew how much I talked about politics all the time, so she was like, "Oh my God, this guy, he's like a Bernie supporter too," and like it was like, "Oh hi," like, and he was an actor, and I was in this industry at that time, and so it was basically, um, it was like, "Oh, okay, you're an actor and you like Bernie," and so we just started talking, and a lot of people were starting their own content at that point because um as you know now, I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of people know at this point, but Hollywood is just very just it's just so much propaganda and so much advertising, and there's a lot of typecasting there, and there's a lot of just a sexual like exploitation, and it's just
Mhm.
very tedious, and it's very like, I think it's just very destructive, to a lot of people who go there thinking that it's going to be something very fulfilling and full of art and full of like storytelling. And I think so a lot of people started, doing their own content production, and eventually
Mhm.
I I was doing a lot of activism, a lot of political stuff, and then I was writing as well. And so then I wanted to do some sort of like content about what was going on in LA because there was so much homelessness and there was a lot of wealth disparity. And there was I was working with one organization in particular that did a lot of activism with housing and the unhoused, and so basically I just wanted to like talk about what was happening and in the streets and the movement and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And Pasta was like, yeah, we should start a YouTube channel, and so we got together and just became business partners eventually and just started the channel. So that's kind of how
No,
it
I think it's
happened. And
fantastic. I mean, your show is fantastic. The Convo Couch, that's how I first came to know you. And I said this to Pasta, and I really mean this. What kind of sparked, it's interesting because like I've been on a lot of shows, but I haven't necessarily sparked a friendship, like an ongoing communication. But with you, I just felt this kinship and we immediately kind of, connected. And so it's been nice to have someone to talk to about politics and what's going on. And so many of my friends are so propagandized, like they would
yeah.
never dream of going to Moscow and things like that. So it's
Mm.
it's nice that we're to talk to someone like-minded, who's open-minded, who's interested in traveling, who's curious and has wonder in the world. But one of the things I said to Pasta too was that I appreciated the way you both covered my story and allowed me dignity and covered it objectively. And that meant a lot to me and always will. So thank you. So
Yeah, yeah, and I think more people should have done that, because of the fact that first of all, it's you're one of many, unfortunately,
mhm.
and Joe Biden is no saint, and I mean it was just this whole just media shutout, right? Of like not talking about this guy who's going to be president and trying to paint him as a innocent grandfather. You could just tell like from multiple testimonies, multiple videos, and it's so hard in these cases sometimes to say, oh, somebody's guilty or someone isn't, but at the very least, like what you were offering and the testimonies you had and the evidence you had, I mean, it was just the fact that people completely ignored you. I thought that was criminal at that point with such a person who has political power, and yeah, of course became our president, and now we're seeing the consequences of that. And and we're at the point where the we know that presidents are very limited in their power in the sense of their figures, their
Mhm.
puppets in some ways. We know that there's apparatus behind this, but they pick the right people to fill that position. They don't pick somebody that's going to oppose the status quo, that's going to oppose the establishment, and they know what they're doing in that sense. In order to be somebody of that political power and that political just will to have really been the architect of the current problems we're experiencing now.
Yeah. And the
That
warmongering. Yeah. I mean, he was the
the
architect of the
warmongering,
drug bill. Yeah, all of that.
you have to be that. You have to be a monster to have this sort of position at this point. They don't put good people in those positions. And so that's what we have to understand.
That's a very good point. That's a really good point. And, one of the things that I admire about, well, I mean, Craig or Pasta was saying that he considers himself like a citizen journalist, but you're trained and educated, and your journalism is expanding and growing. And now with this experience with RT International, I'm sure it's going to take you to new heights with fulfilling that dream. And I think it's really good to see you bring forth a different narrative, because our lens is so limited right now and so propagandized. It's really difficult to get other voices in, particularly like all the election coverage of in other countries as well as our own that you and Pasta have done.